you make it a relic. You put it on the history shelf. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And therefore you miss the essence of the story. So I've been thinking, right, like sitting back and observing, you looking at society and where it's at today, and it's like, yo, looking at my son, who's 16, and hearing some of the stuff he's saying, and I'm looking at, since COVID, the increase in suicide rate amongst young people, and I'm like, yo, what's happening? And the more I'm looking at it, it seemed like the so-called more advanced, and it's ironic, right? The more advanced society gets, it's the more godless it seems, right? And I'm wondering, why are young people, or why, and it's my perception, granted, right? So why does it seem as if though young people, let's say millennials and beyond, are rejecting the notion of God?
It's interesting. We're having this conversation, and I was having a conversation with another brother who is also a minister. His name is Mike. He's in these YouTube streets with the gospel as well. And we were talking about it recently as well, the concept of it seems that a lot of young people nowadays are taking the ultimate part to this life by seeking to end it in the flesh, and it's for a variety of reasons. I have a background in education, and there's always been a natural angst trying to figure out what's next in life, what life holds, peer pressure, kind of looking through someone else's lens to kind of figure out who you are. So that's the natural part. We've all gone through it, right? However, it has matured to a part where it seems as if the hope or the idea of when I get older, even if they're in the most dire straits, and I've noticed that with students I've had the pleasure and blessing to interact with for the last 20 years or so, there used to be, like I said, for the most part, this kind of like, even though my surroundings, aka family, neighborhood, isn't where I know I want it to be, should be, my life is messed up. It seems as if it's gotten to the point where it's just like, yo, I'm done. So why that is, still trying to figure that out. But the only thing I can think about why that is the generations preceding this generation. Literally, in terms of the example that we've been setting and the pressures of the world that come upon them, and then us as elders not showing them, not giving them an example, not giving them a possibility of, hey, yes, I see what you see. I understand this is what the world is offering you. I understand some of those concepts, even though it's coming through in your way, in your generation. It's not something that is just new to you. It manifests itself differently. Like I've always been saying, as the word starts out to say, it's the concept of there's nothing new under the sun. It's just how it manifests itself in the new generation. So everything they're feeling has been felt before, but this drasticness of saying at 14, 15, 16, if not earlier, that like, yo, there's nothing here for me in this world. No vision, no hope. And I think it's because in this world in general, and then us as adults, and then us as parents, and it may not be conscious, it just might be unconscious, we're not giving them a way. We're not showing them a way. We're not showing them and being an example of a purpose within our lives that they can grab onto, that they see within themselves, that gives them the mission and the vision for them to live. It's almost like the world is literally feeding them in terms of, you at 14, 15, 16, why don't you have it together yet? Why aren't you like this person that you see here on YouTube and other forms of social media, on TV, the people that watch TV still, it's almost like the example that they're given is all world based. It's all whatever you want to say, microwave based in terms of you got to have it now. It's all in terms of selfishness, not selflessness. It's all about evil. And there is no alternative that's being shown to them on a consistent basis by us, the elders, of what, yes, I understand, I can comprehend what you're going through, but yo, let me talk to you for a second. Check this out. And they'll be willing to listen to us because they see it in us. Be like, yo, you know what I mean? I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, but I see you living it, man. And you're making a difference some way, somehow. I see it in how you relate to, other people. I see how you relate to your kids, if it's not one of your kids in the community or neighborhood. So I think it's real talk, a lot of ways down to us, the elders.
I do agree to an extent that it is a generation that came before.
And
right?
before it's a process.
Before. Yeah. But however, I think what we might be witnessing,
mm-hmm.
it might be the evolution and the manipulation of consciousness, right? In that what the kids are doing, what I'm seeing, right? In my time working with young people, what I'm seeing is almost a rejection of religion, right? The traditional concepts that try to codify what God is and what one should be like when one is interacting or building a personal relationship with God. And I'm thinking that might be a good thing.
Yes.
Right? That the wiping away of tradition, religious traditions, right? However, I also say, so on one end it's the evolution of consciousness, on the other end it's the manipulation of consciousness, because what's happening, I believe, is that the establishment, whatever that is, the world,
yeah, I mean the world, exactly, yeah.
Right, they also witness that we're in a turning point, and as opposed to presenting our allowing the kids to show us a new way, right? Yes, there's nothing new under the sun, but how it manifests in this time is new to this time, right? Mm-hmm. And so they might be showing us a new way, but because we are so bottled down by our tradition and religious concept, we are stuck, and therefore we become divided, and the house divided won't stand.
Yes.
So now you have the young against the old and the old against the young, when that's just the past and the future fighting itself.
Well, I definitely agree because it used to be a time where the elders were respected. But they were respected because they set or at least they set the foundation, because their foundation was set on the Most High God, and it might have been a council that was like, okay, here's the spiritual foundation of our people, and they were respected, but they still allowed the young people to grow. You know what I mean? And allow them to find themselves, but also kind of like a rebuke and a correction. You know what I mean? It was a discipline, if you will, to the young people. But I'm feeling like that connection was lost. And it is a concept of the world and the one that is in control of this world, rather than control of our, that we're allowed to be in control of our hearts. Because now we're taking everything into ourselves and we're saying that's the reality, when it's not. It's a mirage.
Here why it's I believe it's that whole connection is being lost, is you had a generation at some point that decided not to grow up, right? Let's take it back to religion, in a sense, right? I was sitting there the other day and it just dawned on me, right? To believe the stories in the literal the way they are literally told, right? To believe it as is. It's almost childlike, right? And not in a judgmental way, but it's just like it's a child that hasn't really grappled with the story that he or she is being told, right? You're not looking for the underlying meaning, the gray areas. You're not trying to unfold the story and refold it. You know what I mean? It's just you take it at face value, and I think that generation, once they took it as is, right? So you go to church and the church pastor man tell you what the Bible says. You don't read it for yourself. You don't grapple with the text. You don't talk with it. You don't annotate it. You just this is what I was told, and that's it. So you haven't done the work to allow consciousness to evolve, right? To allow you peeling back the story and see what is it that is teaching you and how it's applicable to your present circumstance. You make it a relic. You put it on the history shelf. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And therefore you miss the essence of the story. You miss the fact that God is alive, the living God. So his miracles are still being done. It's not something that was done 2,000 years ago.
That's
right?
real. That's real. Yeah.
That story was meant to shed light that miracles are happening right where you are.
Well, I think that's the progress or the steps, right? Because the word talks about taking, it's like a childlike mindset in terms of the belief system of it. And it's not saying that, you have to be stupid to believe. It's just kind of like with all the things coming at us to believe that there is all omnipotent, omniscient being that literally cares about us, loves us, but also as a father will discipline and correct us, also seeking to love us and have mercy on us. But if you got to be punished, you will be punished. All these different things. And in terms of where I'm starting to believe, or I have believed rather, in terms of the Messiah that came to be the perfect example of how to live this life in this flesh, tested but without sin, going through all these different things, 40 days, 40 nights, no food, and then became tempted of the enemy and still was able to withstand because of the resolve of standing on the word. It's crazy. It is a childlike belief, but as you're saying, it has to go from that to the concept of knowledge, wisdom, understanding. And as men, we have to continue to grow in that faith, to be planted and to be rooted in this in this truth that we believe, so that we can be examples to our children. Like, brother, how many of our children can literally say and say they can look at a man, first of all, in their household, which is key, but number two, in the community, it's like, no matter what status they are in terms of what this world believes is rich or not, that they are a man of value, a man of the Most High God, a man of spiritual worth, a man that takes care of their family, takes care of themselves, a man that's not, out there saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna be in them clubs, don't make it rain, all this other stuff, but really like, I'm literally building with an eye towards the future, a man willing to take chances on faith. Oh man, it's not many out here. It's not many. What, 2%, 5%, 1%, maybe? That's really doing that? Like, they might be successful in terms of like billionaires, but look at all these billionaires that are freaking miserable. Look at all these billionaires, millionaires that literally their family looks at them and like, I respect the fact that you made that money, pops, but I don't respect you as a man. Like, that's something. So going back to when we were talking about like, as we heading as we go forth to the future, this new year, and seeking a solution, the solution is right in front of our face, been in front of our face. We keep going to the left and to the right. We keep going down the wide road of wickedness, and instead of the narrow road of righteousness, we keep looking at everything and everybody to try to give us that solution in terms of making us feel good. You know what I mean? And not the Most High God that's literally given us the blueprint. And like you said, right there, not as a relic, not as, that was back in the day, that was 2,000 years ago, that was 5,000 years ago. Like literally still applies today, bro. Every time I read different things in the quiet time every morning, I'm like, man, it's like today it still is relevant, both in terms of what is and what could be. I don't know, it just blows my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the thing is now, you see, I mean, there's so much work to be done. Because
Yes.
now, once you peel it back like that, then it's like, okay, how do I apply it, right? And
Mm.
now it's the next level, right?
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
okay, how do I have Abraham faith?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
How do I develop that level of faith? Because that right there is telling you that's the gateway through which the impossible becomes possible, right?
Yes.
It
Yes.
is not doing some miraculous work, right?
Mm.
The work is believing first and foremost, right? That
Yes.
there is a being greater than yourself that
Mm.
has the knowledge and
Mm.
has given you the skill set to make this thing happen. Now, if you're looking for God to snap his finger and whatever you want to manifest right there in front of your eyes, and you know the crazy thing is, depending on your level of faith,
Mhm.
it could happen just like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
You know what I mean? We know what faith without work is dead,
Yes.
but at the same extreme, if one has that level of childlike faith, you will
Yes.
wish for it and it appear.
Yes. Yes.
And if you unable to access that, because sometimes what I realize is that those who are so-called intelligent, it's a gift and a curse.
Mm.
It's a gift and a curse because faith works against logic. Logic works against faith, right? So
Yeah.
for he who is intelligent, he's thinking logically, right?
Mm.
He's looking for the logical steps and therefore defeat himself in the race, in the walk of faith. And so sometimes I try not to think too much about it, but I do have a logical mind, right? So how do you operate in faith when you still try to explain the world as you see it? And I'm hearing this from Sadhguru. He said you have to develop commitment, right? So if you can't accept that if I believe this will work, it will work. If you can't accept it, if you find the steps that would lead to making it work, right, and commit to it, right,
Mm.
then you can achieve it, right? You can achieve it in commitment. And so we develop faith in God, believing that God is God. You commit to the process of discovering who God is in you, right?
Mm.
And once you commit to the process of figuring out who God is in you, what God has poured into you, then you will see the unveiling of that childlike faith that exists within you.
Join the conversation by sharing your thoughts in the comments.
Be well and be blessed.